welcome to Ask the Doulas podcast. I am Alyssa, and I'm excited to be here with Gaby today. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, Alyssa.
So we met, a couple months ago
Yes.
at, was it the Mom Brain Week?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and we got to talking, and you own a lovely little bridal shop. I shouldn't call it little. We'll talk about that in another episode. But you have 3 children?
I have two
Two
and a
children.
fur baby.
Oh, which you didn't birth that one.
Didn't birth that one, yes.
I just kind of wanted to talk about your story. So our moms who are pregnant love hearing positive birth stories. And it's not to say that even though your birth story, the outcome might be positive, that there weren't crazy things that happened,
Right.
Along the way. But I think there's so many people telling you, oh, just wait until,
Right.
and they tell you negative things about pregnancy, about labor and delivery, about postpartum, and then every year as your kid grows, oh, you just wait until. So I like to give our listeners some positive stories. So I guess tell me about your kids. How old are they now?
I have 2 kids. My oldest, Aurora, she was born 2011, so she's going to be 6 this year. And my youngest, Andres, he's going to be 3 this year, so 2016. They're a good amount apart, but still kind of fighting the ages right there.
Yeah, what was it like having a 3-year-old and a newborn?
I think it was, she had just surpassed the age of needing me 100% all the time. She was starting to be independent. And she was very involved and loving, but there was still kind of that balance of she's still not 100% independent. But it was, I like that. I like that space. I wouldn't go, me personally, any closer. I know I have friends and moms that are like, I just like to have my babies super close so that I'm having babies, all at the same time. And I'm like, sounds very overwhelming.
I think it's overwhelming
Yeah.
in that stage.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to a girlfriend today who did that. And she's like, it was so overwhelming. I don't even know how I made it through.
Yeah.
She goes, but now it's so easy. They're all within the same age range and they're all independent and they just go play outside for 2 hours together.
Yeah.
So I can see the beauty of both ends, I guess.
Yeah. And now, since she's a little bit different, she's still kind of interested in what he's interested in and can also watch him a relative amount of, she's kind of on the lookout a little bit. So she's enjoying that responsibility of I'm in charge. Don't do that.
Oh yeah, my daughter's 6 and she would love to be a big sister.
Yeah, she's like, don't do that. Or she'll run inside Mom. Okay, let's bring it. Let's go through the emergency levels here. Not everything is 100% red flag, house is on fire emergency, but.
So how were your deliveries with both of them? Were they pretty similar or completely different?
They were relatively similar. I like to take a look at kind of all the possibilities. And when I originally was planning to get pregnant and got pregnant, I was like, give me all the drugs. Let's set a date for the delivery. Just give me all the drugs and it'll be quick and simple and I'll be in and out and I'll look great, in a week. It'll be fabulous.
Instagram perfect,
yes,
right?
It'll be fabulous. And as I started reading up more on it, and because of my tendencies already, so for example, my back's always kind of been sore and pain or kind of a little bit on the more delicate side. And I started seeing, the complications with medications and where they go and how they affect you. I started to explore a more natural way, more hands-off, with still keeping in mind, if I need it, that's open. So not ever being I don't want it no matter what, but just being I want to go in with the mindset of as much hands-off as possible. And then with the nurses and the doctors, because I trusted them, if it really needed to be done or if I needed a medication or an intervention, then I was okay with doing that. And it was relatively, the pregnancy itself, I was sick. I think I lost weight until the last couple month or two, and she was right on time. And it was a relatively, I don't know if it's long, but it was almost a 12-20 hour from start to finish. But I think the active labor was maybe 6 hours. I was in a lot of pain. It seemed I can't even tell you how long it was, but it was the active labor wasn't that long.
Did you end up begging for an epidural?
No, I didn't. No? What ended up happening is they gave me Stadol at the last stages because I was refusing to sit down, to lay down, because it just hurt so much more.
Okay.
So when the contractions started, they put me in a little tub, but as it started to get more intense, I just couldn't be sitting down. So most of the labor, my partner and I were just on our feet. So I would be on my feet, and then the contraction would come in, and I would obviously like just collapse, and he'd just kind of hold me, like underarms hold me through the contraction. And then the doctor's like, you need to rest. Like, you've been on your feet most of the labor. And I was like, I can't, like, it hurts. Like, they try to lay me down, and it's like, no, like, it was just not good. But it definitely helped me rest once I took the medicine. And I don't want to say it took the pain away, but it definitely helped ease the transition from the standing up and kind of like the anxiety of like, if I lay down, it's going to hurt more. And she came, and I just kind of was like, everybody focus. Don't talk to me, focus. And she was delivered. There wasn't any complications. She came out great, and everybody in my family waited until we were in the other room to come in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who was in the room with you?
Just my partner at the time.
Okay.
Yes. I was very adamant about that. In fact, my grandmother tried to come in a couple times, and she was like, do you need anything? I'm like, there's nothing you can do. Please, I need some space. And I think it really helped me just focus on the moment and just continuously tell myself, like, your body's meant to do this, to go through it. Don't panic. So just like to be like, don't panic, just breathe it out, like you're supposed to do this. If something were to go wrong, someone's going to tell you. They're going to let you say, hey, something's wrong, we're going to intervene. But as long as I'm like, they're kind of just, hey, everything's okay. I'm trusting my environment and my body that this is what it's supposed to do.
So was that an intentional decision to only have you and your partner in the room for your first baby?
Yes.
Because you wanted to focus?
Yes, and I feel like I get distracted. I would get distracted, and my mom, I love her to death. She's great. She actually works in the emergency room. She's an interpreter. But when it comes to family emergencies, she gets really panicky. And at that time with my daughter, she was actually in Florida. So it wasn't too bad. It was just my grandma kind of coming in. And I think after the second time, I was like, I'll see you when it's done. Please, I'm fine. There's nothing really. I guess in my head, it's kind of like, what can you really do? And I have friends that have everybody in there, like the photographer and the neighbor, and they love it. They just want all the hugs and kisses and I just want everybody like, we're here to work. We're here to get from A to B, but we're going to do it. So I told everybody, you cannot be out until I'm in the next room. And for the most part, they listened and
Minus grandma twice.
Minus grandma. I think she was just, I think it's definitely shocking. Your loved ones want to, like, how can I make it better?
Well, how did your partner react? Because oftentimes they're the ones who, I want to fix this, I want to help, and there's nothing I can do.
We have been together for a while, and I definitely have just in my life in general, when I'm sick or whatever, I have the same kind of reaction. So he kind of knew that I was going to need specific help, and we kind of were like, he knew that if I needed something, I would ask, or that, like, for example, he was just there literally as a support because I was on my feet. And then the next time he was just there to make sure. I was like, I just need you to make sure that if I cannot vocalize what I want, this is what I want, that we have decided together. And he was just kind of there, vigilant, just checking, which kind of also brought me a little bit of peace of mind. That's like, I have someone that isn't trying to deliver a baby. I think they were like 7, 8, and then my other one was like 8, 7. They were. But
in your head, you were probably like, this must be a 12.
Whatever's
baby.
Coming out, I'm doing it, and he's not, and he can say, go through the checklist, because I like to take charge. And so that in that point, there was only one thing that I was going to be able to focus on. And so we had talked about it, and I think he definitely, I have a very, like, don't get close to me unless I need it kind of vibe when I'm in pain. But again, I just kept thinking, like, this is something that happens, that's supposed to happen, that you're meant to happen, your body's like prepared for, even though you've never personally gone through it before, but it's supposed to kind of go this route. So how did that affect baby number 2? Knowing you've been through this before, you knew your pain threshold, did that help? I actually thought I was not as far along than I actually was with both of them. So don't time your contractions in your head. Make sure you're using an actual timer. And with my son, when I got in, they were like, do you want medication? Do you want some Stadol right now? I was like, oh no, I still have time. I've only been here a couple hours. Like with my daughter, I was here. It wasn't until like midnight or, till I got Stadol. So I still have a couple hours of labor. And they didn't say anything. They're like, okay, fine. You don't want medicine right now. We understand. And then when it started getting worse, and I was like, okay, I'm
ready.
Give me some. And they were like, you're too far along. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? It hasn't been that long. I had already labored outside of the hospital longer, and I must have been dilated much faster, obviously, because that was my second.
Right.
So it was kind of a shock to be like, wait, this is going to happen without anything. So with my son, I didn't have any medication. And he just kind of, I don't think the doctor kind of was a little, she didn't even have time to put gloves on. Because when they were like, you don't need a medication, you're far along, I'm like, oh. And then a little bit after that, like less than 30 minutes, I was like, it's time. I can be like, you have to wait till you feel pressure. I'm like, yes, I'm checking it off. Yes. And they're like, no, it's going to be a little bit. And then the doctor, they come in so relaxed. They're so relaxed. And I'm like, you should probably move along. And she sits in her little stool, and I'm just kind of watching her like, she shouldn't be this calm because I'm feeling it. It's coming. She's coming. And she literally she turns around and she's like, let me put my gloves on. And I'm like, nope. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh my God. And she's like, okay. And she catches him. She's like, he comes out.
No gloves, no time.
She didn't have time for gloves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of was a totally different experience. I mean, very quick.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't call it painless, but it was a lot less drawn out pain.
It was a lot less drawn out pain, and I don't want to say I was used to the pain. I was in pain, like the muscles on the inside of my legs had kind of just like decided they were too sore the whole pregnancy. So I was in a lot of pain consistently, kind of like jolts of pain. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I was kind of used to pain, and then it was a faster delivery, and he was just kind of like, I'm ready, and he just like slid right out.
Do you think sometimes that as first-time moms, since we don't know what to expect, our brains kind of tell us that it's going to be worse than it is, or we think?
I think it definitely contributes to that, and like sitting down and talking to friends, and the stories are not there for us. Like my friends and I are now being like, I wish somebody would have just sit down and talk about the actual labor, like honestly, not in a I'm gonna scare you, not in a warning, not in a don't get pregnant because then labor is painful, but in a let's go through everything, compare notes so that you can be at least aware of what actually happens. Be prepared for the pain. As women, we have pain every month.
Right.
Some of us more than every month. And I think we're much more capable, but we kind of have this like background fear of labor and delivery. And it just kind of like...
What are a few of those things that you would say to a new mom who has no idea?
I think that mostly would be educate yourself with actual facts. Like educate yourself in how you yourself react to pain in just your everyday life. Are you squeamish? Are you not squeamish? How your partner kind of does that, how you're going to communicate. Like some people can't communicate when they're in pain. Mm-hmm. So does that need to be talked about beforehand? You're not going to know. You can bring your, $200, ball to sit in, but I could not sit on the ball. It wasn't mine. I didn't pay for it, so I was grateful that I didn't invest in a birthing ball that I didn't need. So there's going to be so many switches. Just kind of learn to be a little bit more go with the flow, because in the end, I want to say it's like the baby in your body that's going to be in charge of what happens. Mm-hmm. I just kept telling myself like, this is just breathe through it. Not because it's going to minimize the pain, but because it's going to help like focus where I'm going, like out of the pain.
Sounds like you could have benefited from our hypnobirthing class. Yeah. So it's like learning physiologically what's going to happen. Yeah. Like what's going on in your body, what's happening during a contraction, what's happening actually during like active labor. Yeah. But then, like you said, so you're a step ahead of most, knowing that let's talk about how I deal with pain and how I process things. And do I like to be touched? Do I not like to be touched? Do I hold all my tension here? So knowing that and talking to your partner about that ahead of time is a big part of what the hypnobirthing class is about. Like, let's focus on these things and practice. How are we going to deal with that when we're in this situation?
Yeah, and you definitely have to. We work so hard in preparing like the room and the baby and all the stuff, but that moment is so small comparatively speaking, but it's so intense, and it can leave such a big mark if it gets too complicated. So I feel like being prepared for a lot of stuff makes the load a little bit lighter, because you already kind of have like the answers and you know what to expect, and I didn't realize that my doctor wasn't going to be there until the very end. So this whole time I'm like, I want my doctor. I've known her for a million years and we're best friends. They didn't call her until the end. And then when I realized, the nurses were just fabulous. They're the ones that are going to take care of you. So it's great to have a great relationship with your doctor, but going into where you're going to give birth and seeing the support and the nurses, the support staff, I guess, depending where we give birth, they're kind of going to be there for the long run. And they're there like really invested in you because they're there with you the whole time.
Yeah, labor and delivery nurses are amazing.
Yeah, which I was kind of worried that because I was going to be in a hospital, they were going to be like, we're going to wire you up and we're going to put you all the juices in you. And I was like, I don't want, but it wasn't like that at all. I didn't feel like forced into a certain like way that they were doing things.
Well, is there anything else that you would love to share, or?
I wish we would trust our decisions more and be more confident in what we can handle, like as far as labor and delivery. And again, like if you want that support group there around you and you know you need it, and that's how you've been your whole entire life, like you want mom and aunt and everybody and the dog, that's great. But if all of a sudden, because you're giving birth, everybody wants to sign up and come and take pictures, don't do it. And it'll be a good first start to parenting and being with family. And it's not about you not loving or caring or that you don't want them involved ever in the life of the baby, but that is such a critical moment that you can't have extra people that you're really not going to utilize, or that you're going to kind of like feel like you're trapped in that room for a long time.
Yeah, so often family members can make us feel like guilt us into doing things that we don't feel are right. And this is, like you said, the first step in a very long journey of parenting, where you have to do what's best for you and your family and not everybody else. Right.
And you don't want, I would have probably been mad to see like my sister on her phone while I'm mid-contraction. I'm going to like slap that out of her.
You better not be posting anything to Facebook.
Like, how can you be relaxing? I'm mid-contract. Let's not take, let's not get angry. Let's just focus on, on that.
I did the same thing, so I totally understand.
It's, people are so hesitant to say, they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I think it's, now that we're learning a little more emotional intelligence, I think we can put responsibility on both parts. One, to say no, and the other part to understand. Hopefully everybody understands if you want to draw that line, it's for you to draw that line.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
We will have you on again. I want to learn a little bit more about your business and what it's like. I love talking to moms who are business
I can't
women
wait.
as well. Thanks, everyone, for listening. You can find us on iTunes and SoundCloud. Again, this is Ask the Doulas. You can find us at goldcoastdoulas.com, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening. These moments are golden.